Hello, guys. Welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Commander Cockins. We are here again for our full edited review.
Well, this is episode 6, The Impossible Box. By far the best episode of Picard yet. It actually left me feeling like I watched a Star Trek episode. Had a longer length, but overall, I think there was no spots that really bored me. There was nothing that really I didn't enjoy in this one. Just having that I just watched a Star Trek episode taste in my mouth at the end was very satisfying for a change. And I hope that the rest of the season is like this because, like I said, I really enjoyed this one. The only thing that would compare to it is episode 1, just because of the Enterprise, D, and so I was kind of deciding whether episode 1 or this one was my favorite, but this one is my favorite for sure.
Well, first of all, I loved seeing the length was longer in this one because when you take out a 42-minute episode, take out titles, credits, last time on, and next time on, you're looking like 36 minutes. It's actually the shortest Trek we've had in a long time. So seeing the length, I was like, good. Walking away, I felt this was okay. Nothing in it was great. Nothing in it was bad, really. It was okay, but you're right. It felt like the first Star Trek episode they've made. I walked away thinking, oh, that was an okay Star Trek episode. I haven't walked away from any other episodes thinking that. So my bar raised from being Picard episode to being an actual Star Trek episode. So it's an average Star Trek episode, but a good Picard episode. It was very by the numbers. The Soji stuff was long and drawn out, good but long drawn out. We're meant to care about certain characters we don't so much yet. Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like about this episode was Raffi's part. I mean, there was a few scenes with her where she talked to the other captain.
That was good. That was a good
Picard. That was a great scene. But overall, just her character and acting, I'm not super impressed with. Ever.
Well, again, we don't care. She hasn't been set up properly, so they're like skip moments, almost. I mean, I think she's fine, but it's a very uninteresting story compared to everything else.
Everybody kind of got a role to play, which was great. Oh, there's so much I liked. The Hugh and Picard moments were fantastically done. That was really nice to see, and that's very much on par with the last episode, the 7 of 9 and Picard moment, even though that was only like a minute long. So it felt
like Star Trek.
Like Star Trek. There you go. Plus, I think the flashbacks to the Borg, because there's shots from First Contact and Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah, I went in. I got them all, and they're all from First Contact. Which is where they make it. Yeah, except the one of Locutus, which is very zoomed in and grainy, but that's okay. Yeah, I was trying to see if there's anything from like Voyager, but obviously that stuff isn't HD. I think One Shot maybe because it's got a red top, because it'd be weird to just up-res one Voyager shot.
And the other thing I really liked about this episode is we got actual LCARs. When he called up the computer in his study, it had the good LCARS color. It had good LCARS defined borders, and then other LCARS borders within that. It felt very much LCARS, and so that really made me happy.
I'll be honest, didn't leave an impression to me at all.
Oh, well, it definitely did with me. It actually felt like they were on the right track for that, finally. So,
well, I mean, we're so many episodes in that course corrections they made during filming are now taking effect. That they realize, oh, this isn't working, this is working, la la la. I'm kind of surprised how Rios wasn't served really in this episode. He was just kind of there. Like, his character, he didn't give much this episode. I think the next episode, as being the captain of a ship, will really kick ass. Obviously, his scene with Jurati, but that's him reacting to, that's not, what I mean? He wasn't really given the things that you'd think this character would be given. That said, at least Elnor got a something, and a hugely odd, how did he beam through a Borg cube's shields into a Queen's lair that no one knows about, and the Romulans didn't know about. So I'm not sure.
Either by himself or with the help of Jurati.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure that's I'm fairly sure that's just a plot hole because they wanted him in the next episode. Because they didn't explain it at all, and you can't just do that, especially if they're on high alert. You think the shields would fully go up.
Well, yeah, because they even said at one point in the episode, they're not giving us clearance to land. We've got a small transporter window for you to beam in. So
big plot hole there, and it felt very out of left field. It's like, oh my god, because how do you even know they were there? Whatever. Again, plot hole, but that's one of my main bigger problems. And I think the end, like 10%, is a wash of like, well, we need to get to the next episode, so let's throw in stuff. I don't think it's too bad, but it's definitely not a smart ending. but I also predicted they would leave. So
Well, I mean, and they also mentioned the Sicarians from Voyager, which was a fantastic reference.
didn't get it as a reference until I watched it back, and I was like, "Ah, you get full points there."
I recognized the name the first time. Second time, I was like, "Oh yeah," and I went and looked it up, and I'm like, "Yep, perfect use of that." I mean, Hugh was really well serviced. I hope Hugh doesn't end up dying eventually.
I think one thing that helped, Seven's character was kind of betrayed last week, or at least damaged in some respect. Maybe to be redeemed, but damaged. But Hugh was just a good guy. And therefore that helped the Star Trek-ness, because him and Picard having genuinely Star Trek positive good scenes, where the moral is, these people can be redeemed, can be repaired. Great. But that was their entire walk and talk. To get that message. And that's great. It was great.
It was also nice to see another Starfleet captain. I kept looking in the background to see if I could see anything of her ready room or her bridge, whatever, but you can't really. You know, it's good to see somebody else in Starfleet that didn't go, "Oh, Jean-Luc Picard, ew, no."
Yes.
No.
Yep.
It was like somebody that you can tell probably respects him. But, you know, "Oh, yeah, I'll help you with him, no problem. Where's he going? Oh, the artifact, oh, that's funny. No, seriously."
Yeah.
That's the one place I don't want to give him access to,
Yep.
or just because it's going to be a lot of paperwork for me.
No,
But
that was a smartly written scene. I give them all credit for that. And yeah, she was a great captain. I liked her in uniform. She looked smart. I liked that. Yeah, they didn't. No, at no one point did anyone say ex-Admiral Picard. The vibe was he's such a legend that once an admiral, always an admiral.
Well, Raph even said, you know, he's so Starfleet, he's probably still on the brochure.
Funny, good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was in some versions. And that was a great scene for Raffi. Like, she really kicked ass there, and then she slumped back into the...
That being said, right after that scene when Picard applauded, a lot of people had issue with that. I thought it felt fine. When he sits down, she comes and sits down. She's got the whiskey bottle. She takes a puff of her snake leaf, and he's got a very disapproving look on his face, like, ugh. But then after she does this, I think his applause is earned. It's kind of a, you did a good job, you know, reinforce the positive and don't dwell on the negative. But a lot of people, when I did my first reaction review, said that the scene felt awkward and they didn't think it fit with him applauding. They thought a hand on the shoulder, "You did a good job, Raffi," or something would have been more appropriate, which for Jean-Luc Picard, perhaps.
My vibe is that it's semi-tone deaf in that he's seeing her at her lowest again right now. And she just basically alienated one of her last friends in Starfleet. So this is a terrible moment for her. She's betraying a lot of stuff. So it's tone deaf in that she's saying, ugh, and he's applauding her, ugh. But he's trying to celebrate her skill. And he's trying to, like I say, reinforce, like, you did it, well done, Raffi, did a good thing, even though she's actually feeling that was such a shitty thing to do. So, yes and no, I think it's fine, but it's because he's misreading her body language. So his memory of her will always be this higher person, where she probably appreciated that sort of thing back in the day. So it works on both levels, I think. Jurati, for me, I liked the way they explained the death thing, although it's a little bit, at least they gave time to it, but it's a little bit, he accepts it. But I think as her character, I get why, but to me the character now feels so broken that she's not interesting to watch anymore. But it makes sense, but it's like, oh.
It was better than I anticipated, for sure. I was expecting to glaze that over. I didn't expect much to happen with her. I kind of liked her interaction with Rios.
It was interesting. Yeah.
Just as the, you know, I feel hollow, I feel empty, why do you like space? It was actually great dialogue. And the way that Rios and her played together with that, he's like, "Are you sure this will make you feel better?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, for a few hours at least." I'm thinking, few hours, 10 minutes max. No, so I think her character was served well from what we saw of her. And I did like the explanation for Maddox and stuff, although why the medical records or, you know, even it wasn't referenced as an oddity, but it's still, it's fine.
I guess a half explanation is at least they knew to explain. They just forgot about the EMH already.
Yeah. The obvious question at the end, where's the kid? She's sitting there and she looks back. Like, did she beam him over? Because she would have probably had to help him. He wouldn't know how to operate a transporter.
Or be able to actively go through shields. That's true. Rios and the lady, the XO, didn't know he left. So it must have been, it could only have been him or Jurati, and neither would be able to get him over there. Like I said, it's a plot hole. It's just a not explained plot hole that's just like, we need to give him this. I kind of thought, I knew he wasn't going to die, but it would have been kind of interesting if he had been killed by the Romulans at the end. Like, that might be an interesting, like, twist. But it's like, wow, you made a character just to give him 5 seconds head start.
I think him and Hugh are going to escape next episode, but that's for a prediction video.
Well, I was blown away he didn't go with Picard, because surely he's like, he can protect Picard more by his side than giving him 5 seconds. Like, he already walked through the emitter. Like, he was safe, and the emitter was turned off. And I'm sure Hugh wiped the records of using it. So going with Picard makes a billion times more sense. Him staying, exactly. I thought, was very...
It was a contrivance, unfortunately. Picard was saying, yes, come with me, and I totally agree. He just went with them.
And the time he wasted saying, I'm not going to go, is the time they bought them. Because a sword's not going to help with the Romulans. I mean, they've got 9 disruptor rifles. He's not going to be able to run at them. He's going to get shot straight away. I mean, yes, I like his line, don't choose to die, but he's being stunned in 5 seconds. He's doing nothing here. I'm sorry.
Oh, the Romulan culture thing, learning more about that was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed that. I've kind of had that happen to me where somebody helps me unlock a memory and they kind of talk me through it like that. So I thought that was actually really well done. And the fact that it's correlated with this room, with the path on the floor, like now you're turning a corner, now you're entering this part. I think that was really interestingly done. And in combination with the puzzle box that was talked about earlier, and it speaks back to the name of the episode, the Impossible Box, right? So the Impossible Box was her brain and her memories in this one, and him trying to unlock them and not being forceful about it, doing it the subtle way. So I think that scene was actually very well done. A lot of people said that was kind of the slump for them. It kind of slowed down a bit for them there, but I was totally engrossed in that scene.
Again, none of the characters have been built up properly, so it's hard to really engage with anybody. It hasn't been done properly. So they were long scenes, but I'd rather have long, slightly dull scenes in a longer episode that gives you time to breathe than no scenes or rush I Love You from 2 episodes ago that does not work. Just flat out, that was a fail. So yes, although normally, I mean, they had like Janeway once be in a steam room or something. She was given some tea and she had hallucinations, whatever. So I don't quite there's no link between, like, she's just standing there and he says, think back and walk on this path and get a flashback. Like,
Sylvia's talked me through things like that before, and it's actually unlocked old memories because I have a piece of the memory, but then she opens it up, and that's why I found it so intriguing, because it has worked on me. So
because I thought the only reason it would probably work is that she was a mechanoid or android, and therefore it was able to like it was contrived because she could do it. But I love the wooden her on the bench. That was a great visual. Loved that. I really appreciated Narek in this episode for not falling into the traps that I thought they were going to do, because he loves her. I don't buy. I think he appreciates what she is and would love to study her more, but I don't think he loves her. I think that's well out of the realms of, So I appreciate that when he was trying to murder her, there was no hesitation. There was regret. I wish I didn't have to do this, but there was no actual hesitation. And that's the line I love. I think that was a perfect line to do, because he does not love her. He loves the idea of what she may, because that's, if the idea of her is like, oh, this is really cool, I have to kill her, but why not in 30 years, So I liked his line there. And obviously killing them in the same way as Nemesis was a nice callback, in a sense, like a similar assassination method. Killer radiation dust smoke box, yay!
I thought it was played very well. Again, there hasn't been enough build-up of his character to this point to really have us care. But I think this episode, he did a fantastic job of acting. And there was no hesitation. He did what he had to do, walked out of the room, shed a tear or two, and he wouldn't go back in for her. He told the other guy to stop. I think it was very well done, and I really enjoyed it. And you're right. I was thinking that they were going to screw it up by having him do something that would just be stupid.
Right. It was exactly what we needed. 2 things annoyed me distinctly about this one, because we were given them in so much. The Borg art design here is really poor, in that you go back and look at Voyager, TNG less so, but they had less money. The Voyager sets, the Borg art design is really interesting and detailed and full on. But the more time they spent in the cube, the more I kept thinking, wow, this feels cheap. All the walls are these generic blocky things that is cheap and easy to make because simple shapes are easy to 3D print and then stack. I'm sure they're just movable pieces. And they kept reusing the same elements. They kept reusing the same art design. There was no variation. I don't mind the alcoves, but there's nothing of the the Borg aesthetic we got from Voyager. And while you could argue it's a different cube, that's fine. But it was a very, very boring Borg art design. It was very cheap looking in comparison to not like actually cheap looking, but like the money spent on the series. It should have been at least 5 times better, especially when you keep re-seeing the one Romulan room in the Borg cube, which is the mess hall, everyone's crew quarters, every lab, every single room is the same room, even the room with the thing on the floor. Every single room is the same set room. So this set, it felt like a very cheap episode for sets. Big letdown. Again, compared to Voyager, the sets look incredible.
I love that the walls moved and had
that is cool. Give them
had some kind of life to them. I thought that was a neat touch. While I agree with you that it might not be as interesting as it could be for the budget they have, I also think that the differences in cubes can easily be explained in different quadrants, whatever, older cubes, whatever. Plus, they've had it for 14 years. The Romulans, they would make some modifications and changes for themselves, which probably those separate rooms. Those aren't Borg rooms, obviously.
No, I get that, but as soon as you walk into the Queen's room and he's saying this is a hidden space and it's the exact same boring art design, the Romulans aren't going to remove every single pipe from every wall and every part of the cube, so you can't say they're just removing pieces, especially when Picard beams into a Hugh-controlled bit of the cube where Borg live. They're not taking out bits of the walls. When they said this is the Queen's area, I was really excited to see like the Voyager style, the Queen's area. But it was the most generic blank room, and I was like, this is the Queen's private quarters room control. Wow, they didn't spend any money on this.
It's a choice, unfortunately, that they made. That was the wrong choice. I don't know.
Cost-efficient choice.
Out of money, but yeah, it's lack of creativity.
Yeah, and it would work in some ways, but and what do you think of the whole Queen main area with the thing? I mean,
that was interesting. I don't think there's queens on every cube. So if there's a queen space on a cube, it doesn't have to be big because she's not always on each cube, right? So I don't have a problem with it being a smaller area. I like the little Sicarian gate that came down. I thought that was a neat touch. I love how they mentioned it was added after Picard's was Locutus.
Well, it had to be after Voyager because they weren't assimilated by Voyager. So it had to be after season 1 or 2.
I didn't have a problem with it. I think that having a smaller room, not as elaborate, especially on just a regular cube, is fine. It's not like her main hangout. It's not Unimatrix Zero.
Yeah, I think they should have been more careful because they sort of said that it was the Queen's chamber. And we know what the Queen's chamber feels like on several different cube and pyramids and diamonds and Unimatrix. Like, it's always roughly the same. It's high detail. Like, they should have at least had the infrastructure for her to go down and the central bit. Like, anything that was Queenie. But all it was her personal transporter room, basically. And I wish they just said that. This is her personal... Because it would have been like, oh, yeah, it's just a transporter room for her. Yeah, and what did you think of the whole scene where Hugh's talking to Picard and they're showing the ex-Borg with the, very gruesome-y, facey, healed, but, not good-looking bits?
Well, I loved the whole sequence from Picard beaming in to having the flashbacks to being helped by the other Borg. They don't want you to fall. And then the... meeting up with Hugh, and it was just a fantastic sequence of events. And then taking him through the reclamation of the Borg, and nobody can understand it better than you. I thought everything was so well played there, and I love the progression of even to where Hugh is like, or the famous Admiral Picard campaigning for ex-Borg rights. That'd be awesome. Just that little, and Picard kind of had a little on his face, like this could be a thing I'll do later. I even appreciated Picard's line of saying, I never thought healing Borg would be done
on this scale.
On this level,
yes.
On this scale,
and
by Romulans. Because as soon as he said the first part, I'm like, really? You were healed? And then so that was well written, and it could have been a lot worse. So,
because it's hard to, it works on its own level very well, right? Problem is, when you compare to what the Doctor could do in Voyager, he could do a lot more effective things than the Romulans could do relatively easily.
I think the Romulans could probably do more. They just don't care to.
I think that's the difference. The Doctor really wanted to get to back to the same level. The Romulans, it's the bare minimal. It's this is our day job. We're getting you okay. And to be fair, if you can turn Cisco into a Klingon and fake it, because it's obviously more than just plastic surgery, I'm sure once they are, I mean, even with faces that are that damaged, I'm sure they can do surgery to repair, it'd be a fake face, like partially, but it's the future. Of course they can repair beyond that. I noted that in the big wide shot of all the alcoves, which was okay, although kind of I'm missing all the green flares, there was so many Borg in the alcoves, so they must have been in stasis in the alcoves because they were fully Borgified still. They put like CG people, and it was the same 3D model, not very high res, and like 12 alcoves.
Well, that one Borg waking up where his eyes opening like a few levels down from Picard was odd, and it never followed up on. Like, is he in stasis? Is he not? Is he full Borg? What's going on?
Is he sensing locutas? Is that a thing? Yeah, it was an image for the trailer. Oh, and Picard was definitely the hero in this one. He actually felt like, I think that's also why it feels like Star Trek, because it was actually a Picard episode. Most of them haven't really been, and I think he did deliver most of the goods, especially him being upset at Geratu when she mentions all the things in the La Serena. That was a good scene, I thought. I did buy that he said the Borg never change, because
they metastasize. That was such a great word.
But he is right. The Borg do not change. The thing is, these are not Borg. They're ex-Borg. So he shouldn't have put the label on the cube. It didn't make sense for him to associate this cube with Borg anymore, because they're not Borg anymore. They're ex-Borg. It's just the Borg collective never change, because people can call him out for saying, "Oh well, they changed." Like, it wasn't. The Borg have never changed in terms of like they're always assimilating as the entity of, if you're assimilated with one brain with Queens, they do not change except evolve slightly, but they're always the same sort of thing. But X-Borg obviously do change because you're an X-Borg, Seven X-Borg, you've met X-Borg. It's not an issue.
Like, even in First Contact, we see him. Ensign Lynch. It's fine. There's no hope for him, even though. So I think he's dismissed the Borg being helped, and then once you see his journey on the cube to realize that you are actually doing this, I think there's a little bit of a growth moment there for his character. Yes, Seven and himself, obviously, but I think he had it in his brain that he was only a Borg for a short time, and he's Captain Picard. That's why he came back, and so I think this was actually a good growth journey for him to see, and you kind of get that playthrough of his realization that these people can be helped and they're victims. He even says so.
The problem is he already learned that lesson decades ago. And you would think the in-between steps, he would have talked about the Borg to somebody after Janeway got back. And the fact that last week with 7-9, he's like, "Do you ever get your humanity back?" "Yes, I did. Not all of it." Like, he just talked to an ex-Borg last week about humanity. And this week he's saying, "Damn the Borg, they're never going to be okay." It's like, you just talked to her 2 days ago, an ex-Borg that became great and then murderer, but you know what I mean? So they're making him learn the same lesson from... Like, even talking to Hugh in Descent, is like, these guys are ex-Borg that are now going to get better. They obviously got out of the collective. They're not Borg anymore. So they he learned it already. I like, the only way it works for me is because he's going on to the cube. He's never been on a cube again. That pure visceralness is driving him to a place that he hasn't been since Best of Both Worlds. He is now a different character, but he's being brought back into this mindset. So I can give him that, even though I think it's out of character a bit, especially after Roger got home and he would learn all about what happened there.
Yeah, but the PTSD of going back on a cube, it would actually he'd raise his shields essentially and just close himself out from it, and that's why his character played that way. So, no problem with that at all. I thought it was well done. Anyway, guys, I think that's it for our look at this episode. Until Monday, we're going to be doing our full review on Monday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of tonight. If you guys can join us, please do. Please put your comments down below what you thought of this episode, and hit like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff that you guys like to do, or that you don't like to do, but you should do to help out your favorite YouTubers. Not just us, but everybody else. Subscribe, like, do that thing.
And of course, Patreon, if you can. We need it every single month to help keep this channel going and do all the great videos that you enjoy every single week and often every single day. Or one-time donation at Trekyards.com. Click the donate button, or you can become a member of the Trekyards YouTube channel with that join button, and you have 3 great tiers and you get great little rewards, and we know your names and we see you in the comments. It's just a great way of supporting and being like, "Oh great, you're a part of the crew," basically.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Combs. Bye, guys.
See you guys.